from New York. The show that is undecided about giving the Cowboys a grade. We had a grade ready. Then we heard that Dak is going to be out a few games. I said, Brew, what are you going to do? And then he accused me of trying to thwart his career growth.
We know you did go behind the scenes to nix the grade. I had a whole great spiel, and it was funny. Put together for the grade, and then
while it was like
the
breaking news,
exactly.
it would be in poor taste, did a whole thing.
So are you doing it or not?
You know the answer to that. Not.
We're starting with bad news in Dallas. Dak is out. Hamstring worse than initially expected. He's expected to miss multiple weeks. Nick, is this the end of the Cowboys season?
Yeah. And here's the thing. And wow, sometimes the sports gods smile upon you, because there is nothing more mortifying for this show than having to do a mid-season playoff prediction flip-flop, as Brew had to do with the Jets, and as a year ago Brew had to do with the Bengals, and the year before Brew did with the Bengals, then unflip-flopped. It is mortifying. And there's only one allowable by the bylaws excuse, and that is starting quarterback injury.
Okay.
And I have written down on this sheet these notes that I took before the injury was announced. I'm out on the Cowboys.
Oh.
So even before Dak was out,
immunized
I was going to be out, but now he's out, so we're definitely out.
But you looked bad for the first 7
looked
weeks.
Bad is one thing or another. That is all true. Listen, they were, before this injury was, before Pelissaro said out multiple weeks, as far as winning the NFC, the Cowboys had better odds than the Saints, who just fired their coach, the New York Giants, and the Carolina Panthers. That's the list. Oh. There are 16 teams in the conference. 12 have a better record than them. 12, and that's before, like, obviously Dak got hurt yesterday, but so they were going to be a huge underdog before we got the Prescott news. Yeah. Now that we have the Prescott news, their season is definitively over, and what they do with that clarity will inform their decisions moving forward, because this is the thing I said before the show that you guys are going to negatively react to, but you know I'm right about.
I want to hear this.
They are fools if next week Cooper Rush starts.
See, that's what I am. Trey Lance.
I don't hate that.
Because if he's good, that's great for the Cowboys. And if he's bad, that's great for the Cowboys. Because now they're in
You mean Trey?
Trey. I'm saying Trey. If he's good, then you all of a sudden can recoup maybe the draft asset or then some. I don't think that's going to happen. And if he's bad, you'll just get a better draft pick, because now this season's about top 10 pick. Could it be a top 5 pick? The season is now totally off the rails.
How many games he may miss? He may miss, what, 3?
Yeah, right. 3 or 4. And they're right now, again, they are 13th in the conference. 13th in the conference already. And so, like, you're not going to learn anything with Cooper Rush, and you are not good enough. I know they went 4-1 with Cooper Rush years ago. That was a couple years ago. That was a far better team than this one. So, yes, the season's over, and they should start Trey, even if Trey's way in over his head.
I agree with that. I agree with that Trey Lance take. I would remind you did pick the Bears to go to the Super Bowl. So, no, you're not out of the woods yet.
We're not to the Bears topic yet. That's
You're not out of the woods
on
yet.
This page.
All right, first, I do have to say that you guys know I'm not going to give a grade to the Cowboys. All right? It was going to be a D. I was going to be kind to them and give them a D. But I take it seriously. And I am objective and fair when it comes to my grading. So I do have to give myself an F for believing in the Cowboys and actually picking them to beat Atlanta. Because it's just me. It's not the team. It's just me.
Where's the R&B singers and everything to give you the F?
So, yeah, I give myself an F for believing in them. Yes, the season's over. And like Nick, all before we knew about Dak. Now, I thought hamstring, he's probably going to miss a couple games at least. But even if he was playing next week, it was like they're done. They're just done. First of all, they're not good enough to make the playoffs. Like maybe if they got, when they get Micah and DeMarcus Lawrence back, they could be in the fight, but they're not better. They're not as good as Washington and Philadelphia. They're just not. And so they're not going to make the playoffs, especially with the injuries. The rest of this season, like Nick said, it's about who's the keeper. Who is a keeper? Because Dak, you would even consider maybe moving for him, but his contract just makes that all but impossible. So now you got to keep Dak. So you can't do a total rebuild because you have a 31-year-old quarterback making all $60 million a year.
Yeah.
So who is a keeper? What is our plan for the offseason? And he's right. They should play Trey Lance to see what he can do. Who cares if Cooper Rush goes out there and wins a game or two? They're definitely losing at least 2 of the next 3. And I'm being kind. They probably lose all 3. They got Philadelphia, Houston, and
do they have Washington coming up?
Is it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Washington.
Yeah.
So they're definitely losing 2 of the 3, maybe all 3. The season's over.
Can I just keep that up there for a second? Just to play the other side of this. The Eagles can't give you a game with Nick Sirianni.
The Eagles can give you a game.
They were an interception. I'm just saying, they're an interception away from losing to Jacksonville, who's terrible. The Texans just lost to the Woeful Jets.
Yeah, but
the Commanders are a very good team, but Jaden has been up and down. One shot from Jaden, all of a sudden, why did we give up on the season? All of a sudden, the Giants are not good. The Bengals, I know, have to bow down.
So what are you saying? They can make the playoffs?
Well, in a few minutes, we're gonna say that the 4-win Bengals that we should
not if Joe Burrow is out for a month.
We should consider going to New Orleans and getting Bengals here. But the 3-win Cowboys, because you don't want to put Cooper Rush in because he's won 4 games last year and he's 5.
The Cowboys are bad.
Wait,
I understand they're bad, but you're gonna pack up the ship for the Cowboys and all these other teams.
Joe Burrow's better than Dak. And Cooper Rush for sure.
Real quick?
Go.
This is one of those things, and I say this sincerely. I wish I had done it off the air.
Go.
Sometimes, and I love you, sometimes you have a really bad take that you get anchored to, and it pulls your otherwise good takes in its wake. Here's the thing. I think your Bengals take is a bad take. Set that aside. But it should not, whatever it is, using how we feel about the Bengals as a reverse justification for you all of a sudden believing in a team that 72 hours ago, when the quarterback was healthy, you thought was bad, and you were right, that now that the quarterback's hurt, you're like, well, why can't they win 3 in a row?
I don't believe in giving up. I'm not a huge fan of giving up.
Listen, I don't think it's giving up. I think it is. Here's the thing. The pick you traded for Trey Lance, in the 10 picks after, running back Bucky Irving was taken. Running back Garindo for the Niners was taken. Running back Braylon Allen for the Jets was taken. You could have had your running back this year. Instead, you said, we're going to take Trey Lance. Tonight, maybe he's so awful in the next week's game, it's not plausible to put him out there again. I'm just trying to find a small silver lining of something to be gained from this moment for Dallas that you couldn't do if you were 5-3. If it was just steady the ship, but if we can just quickly show their rankings. And listen, I feel I should sound like a fool here because I'm the one who believed in this team more than anybody on the show. Like Brew and I both had them in the playoffs, but I had them winning the division. It is unfathomable to me that they went from top 5 in everything to not top 10 in anything and barely top 20 in most things. That is not just they lost Tony Pollard.
Right.
That is a systemic collapse of a team from one year to the next.
I'm going to throw something else at why they should play Trey. We know what Jerry's about. Buzz, interest, money.
I buy that.
You put Cooper Rush out there.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Winning game.
You put Trey Lance out there, people are going to pay attention to next week's game. And probably no matter how bad he might be in that game, even the week after people are going to watch to see what Trey Lance does.
So Mike McCarthy should what should he do?
Mike McCarthy's a lame duck anyway.
Well, who gives you the better chance to win next week? Trey
Cooper
Lance.
Rush.
Okay, then I got to play Cooper Rush. If I'm Mike McCarthy, I have to play Cooper Rush. I'm not going to lose. I'm not going to lose with Trey Lance if I'm Mike McCarthy, and then get fired because I lost games because you told me to play.
If Cooper wins one of the next 3, which
Now
is
they're
about
4
their
and 5.
best,
Here comes
best
Micah.
case scenario.
Oh, what's going on now?
Can I just
That
make,
now
it's Dan
Can
Quinn.
I just say
Ooh,
something
Dan
real
Quinn,
quick?
little Cowboys
I
fan.
disagree that with this level of talent, Cooper Rush gives you a better chance. I think Cooper Rush, if you dropped either one of these guys, Cooper Rush or this kind of total unknown in Trey Lance, onto a stacked team, I think Cooper Rush give you a better chance. You know what I mean? It's a plug-and-play situation. Call it, I don't know, I don't want to say the Niners.
I hear
just
mean. Like they were last year.
Right, or 2 years ago, where we got 2 good weapons, a good running back, all that stuff. The Cowboys right now that might have CeeDee Lamb next week might not, and that who don't have a running game, whose offensive line hasn't been great. I actually am not sure that Cooper Rush and knowing exactly what you're going to get from him gives you a better chance than a guy who could run for 100 yards, who's going to be a high-variance player. Like, so I don't look at it as you're just waving the white flag, but I do think there's added benefit of if he's – so even if you throw out my if he's bad, it's good for you for draft picks – maybe he'll be better than that. And if he is, that's doubly good because to your reason, the season stays alive. And to my reason, you maybe can recoup something for him in the offseason because Dak's your quarterback because of the contract you got.
If they don't play him, he must really
be
bad.
Awful in practice.
He must be horrible.
And by the way, he's not even the backup, so maybe he does. But even in that case, I might be like, man, maybe he's a gamer. Give him one game like you traded
he really hasn't had any extended run
chance
in the
to
whole
play
league.
it at any time.
I'm not expecting
I just
anything
don't
from
think
him.
he lights it up at practice.
He clearly does.
He's clearly terrible at practice. That part we know. The Niners
do
it.
But maybe in a game when it's full speed.
I don't know.
He turns it on. The lights are brightest.
The trade deadline is tomorrow. Again, the Cowboys are 3 and 5. Jerry had been interested in making moves, but now with this Dak news, we don't know what he's going to do. Maybe he's going to turn him from a seller to a buyer on the trade market. Who's to blame here?
I mean, it's Jerry, undeniably. And it's, man, if they had just held their water on the Dak negotiation, everything about this season, Brew, is taking on a different light. Yeah, it sucks. And yeah, maybe if they had done that, we would be blaming the bad season on them not paying Dak. But there would be a real light at the end of the tunnel, which would be,
let him walk.
Okay, we are going to, everyone's like, oh, where are you going to find your next quarterback? Well, I'll tell you where, in the top 10 of the draft. You know what I mean? Because that's the type of, right now they would have,
and you can find good, a lot of great ones have been found after that.
Right, but I'm saying a lot of people were thinking, well, how are the Cowboys going to draft a guy in the first round if they're only drafting late in the first round? This year that wouldn't be the case. You'd be able to kind of clean up your books. They could, I just think every step Jerry made this offseason was the wrong one. First bad step, keep McCarthy in a lame duck year. That hasn't worked out. Second bad step, in my opinion, not getting Micah signed because you're clearly going to bring him back. We see what the defense looks like without him. His negotiating position's actually gotten stronger by not playing. Waiting on CD, waiting on Dak, and then paying him anyway, sitting out free agency, all of that is Jerry Jones. And had they simply waited on Dak and said, all right, let's see it this year, then I think they're in a position where it's like, well, maybe Cam Ward would look great as a Cowboy. Maybe Shedeur or whoever's going to be the 6th pick of the draft, whatever it is.
My guy.
And so, but regardless,
and
it
have that money to build out your roster.
Right, and be able to have legitimate talent around it. Instead, you have the highest paid quarterback in football. I don't know if we can show the Dak numbers, having arguably the worst season of his career and now injured again. So I put that on Jerry.
Can we play? I think we have a quote from Jerry talking after yesterday's game. If we can get that about, the trade is in the mail or whatever, we can get that. But in the meantime, this will be the 3rd year in the last 5 seasons that Dak's missed multiple games. So he's not only 31, playing poorly, huge contract. I mean, I don't want to call him, he's not injury prone, but he keeps getting hurt.
It's on the line, the injury prone thing.
It's like he's missing serious games. So I don't know if we can get the quote, but all right, to me, it all makes sense now. His first quote, it's in the mail. Now, Jerry's 82. I don't expect him to be up on modern technology like he used to, like young kids. The problem was the contract offer for Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley and Dak. got lost in the mail.
Oh, snail mail.
Snail mail. He's doing snail mail while everybody else is doing.
He's calling people.
No, he's 82. It's
okay.
mail. All right, maybe it'll get there. It took all summer for Dak's contract offer to get there. No, look, Jerry's clearly.
Did we play that sound just so you could play that and tell that joke?
We only needed the beginning.
Okay.
We didn't need all the rest about him being all in. We know he doesn't know what all in means. Jerry's to blame. And everything Nick said, of course, you should have signed Dak early, gone out and got Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Aaron Jones, kept Tony. Like, there's a host of running backs you could have gotten, even if it wasn't Barkley or Henry. But beyond that, you guys know, and I've been saying this for years, before it was sexy to say it, before everybody was saying it, the culture he has created is not conducive to winning. And one small part of that is he disempowers the head coach. It's not that he doesn't empower the head coach. He actually disempowers him. So if Mike McCarthy really wants to hold guys accountable, he can't. Because we can go talk to Jerry. We know Jerry's running things. We heard Jerry on the radio saying this and saying that and talking about you, Mike McCarthy. We're only listening to you so much. When we really want to hear something, we'll go to Jerry. So he disempowers the coach and takes away his ability to be the authority figure with that team.
And being buyers right now would be insane.
They should sell.
I'll tell you one, it would not be popular with Cowboys fans, and maybe it's a bad idea, and I know they wouldn't do it, but they have a future Hall of Famer on their team that the other team in Texas would probably triple overpay for, in 34-year-old guard Zach Martin. His contract expires after this year. They need to get younger. They need to clean up their books as they are right now. The Texans have a desperate need the Texans are trying to win right now, and CJ's going to get murdered. And so, could you get a second-round pick for the Texans saying, screw it? We have this moment right now for a guy who might walk in free agency anyway, who's 34 years old. Maybe. I don't think they do it. There's some of their overpriced secondary pieces, maybe. They should be sellers, not buyers, certainly with the Dak in.
The Micah thing is off the board for you, though?
You can't trade. You can't. At some point, and the Panthers are learning this, you have to have some good players. The Panthers are like, we'll trade all our good players, and then they're just terrible with no path. No, so to me, the Micah
even
thing,
if you get a good quarterback, you never know.
You got to keep your young, good players.
Head to Baltimore, where the Broncos defense either got exposed or faced an unstoppable offense, or maybe a little bit of both. Lamar has a perfect passer rating, and Derrick Henry got 2 more touchdowns in another 100-yard game. Here's Lamar yesterday, completed 84% of his passes, perfect passer rating for this 4th time in his career. Lamar now the odds-on favorite for MVP. Is he running away with his 3rd MVP?
He is. Look, it's still early. I mean, 9 games in, you still got a lot of football left to be played, so I'm not saying it's sewn up. But right now, he should be the overwhelming favorite. He was first on my ballot last week. I think another week he was. But he clearly is the MVP right now. 20 touchdowns passing, just 2 interceptions. Only 4 guys have ever done that in the first 9 weeks of the season. Russ, Drew Brees, Russell Wilson, and Mahomes. And so he's throwing it better than ever. And Nick may make this point, but I feel the same way if he does make it. This puts more pressure on Lamar to be great.
We've been working together. This precedent is weird, and it puts even more pressure on him in the playoffs. I have written down.
Even if they lose, he can't play poor. Like, if they lose in a shootout to Kansas City and he throws for 300
because
plus.
The defense falls apart.
He has got to play well. And I've always said, we disagree on this. Nick has blamed Lamar for his poor playoff performances and compared him to Harden and Embiid and Aaron Judge. Like, I've said it's different because I think with those guys, it's mental. There's a little choking there. I don't view Lamar as choking. I have viewed Lamar, as great as he's been, as not being an elite passer.
So you think that changed from last season to this season?
Yes, because when you get to the playoffs, I think his passing has been exposed or lack thereof. Now he's an elite passer. By every measure, he is an elite passer.
Last year too.
Now, his numbers are way better. These are the best numbers of his career.
Yes.
He's got the 4th highest passer rating for a season ever. Aaron Rodgers did better twice. Peyton Manning did better once. And then it's Lamar. Those three all won MVP the years they did it. Mm-hmm. So this year, there will be no, like, if they have to get in a shootout, watching Lamar play right now, you would say, okay, then shoot it out. No, well, look at his number.
I understand. And listen, he's never had a 4,000-yard season. He's on pace for it here.
He's throwing for 265.
His volume's way higher. And he's efficient.
And he's not even throwing it a ton.
Right, but the yards per attempt and the highlights yesterday were, we can show some of them here. His highlights are unbelievable. Oh, that's different. Two-time MVP with an unbelievable regular season.
See,
it's a different guy.
Fun at Lamar.
No, it was unbelievable, unprecedented. Greatest season by a right-handed hitter we've ever seen. I don't know how it applies come January, but again, I'm just telling you it is what it is. Everybody all last week went after Aaron Judge, and nobody said they were being mean. Nobody said you're being unfair. And so in the midst of it, what I'm telling you is, we can stop with the Judge highlights at this point, but I do appreciate the supercut. If next year Aaron Judge hits another 55 home runs and someone's on TV saying, I appreciate it, he can be MVP, but I'm going to hold out my belief he's going to be different in the postseason, no one will say that's unfair. We are just a year ahead of that track for Lamar right now. Lamar won his second MVP last year, had that unbelievable year, and then had the same playoffs he's always had. So these are two different conversations.
He was good against Houston.
He was good. He's good against Houston. He right now is the clear-cut favorite and deserves to be. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.